Hello, hello. We're starting Vintage Scent Club. And while people are getting ready, I figured I would just start by showing you all the Schiaparelli perfume bottles. So I'm just going to show them really quick. We've got Sexy Foo, So Sweet, a few formats of Shocking, My Pride and Joy, which is Roy Soleil, as well as Sleeping, Snuff, and S, which was her first one. These are all the perfumes that we're going to be smelling tonight. There are 8 of them. And everybody say hi to, there's nobody watching, but there's no one watching, but yeah, we're going to get started in just a second. I think we're waiting for one more person. Okay, so first of all, you should have seen on your chair, this is how you know that I was an honors student. Like, it was very important to me that I make you a booklet. And it's got information on all of the perfumes that we're going to be smelling tonight, as well as information on, stop calling me, friend. Stop calling me. As well as information on Elsa Schiaparelli and her life, as well as some photos. You will also have a little packet. And again, I went through and I put these in order and I labeled them. And I'm just like such a nerd, but I hope you enjoy. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So when we do get to the smelling part, how I like to start these is I'm going to give you a little bit of history about the theme for tonight. The theme is Schiaparelli. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history on Elsa. And then when we get to the perfumes, I'll tell you which one we're doing. And then I have little decants here and I'll pass them around and you each give them a spray. And then we'll talk for a second about, your impressions. And yeah, so any questions before we get started? Cool. Let's do it. So first off, why do this? Like I said before, I need perfume friends, guys. So this is an easy way to get people to come to me, people that share in my interests. It's really hard to make friends as an adult, so I appreciate you all so much. And just like, as I said before, just like vintage perfumes are just really fascinating to me. I'm a history buff, and I think it really helps you understand past cultures. And just, it's really fun to see how different beauty products have come such a long way. Like, we're going to be smelling stuff that is 80 years old tonight. So I think that's just really special. And why Schiaparelli? So I am a Schiaparelli fangirl because I'm one of those people that will just like go down rabbit hole upon rabbit hole. And I went down this rabbit hole about Chanel, Dior, and Schiaparelli. And she was just the most fun individual who was less problematic than the other people by a lot. And we'll get into that later. But she's just like one of those very like playful, creative people. And I absolutely just love the artistry of both the bottles that she produced with her artist friends, which you're going to love some of these stories, and just like her fashion too. And I don't know if any of you follow current Schiaparelli, but Daniel Roseberry, oh my God, he is just absolutely killing it. Like, all of their stuff is amazing. And I was just in Paris with Aubrey actually a couple weeks ago, and it was a group trip where we were doing perfume stuff. And I went to Schiaparelli, and I got to tell you guys, I thought I was going to be in trouble the entire time because everything is like $30,000. And I was like, I definitely don't have that kind of money, but I'm just like very excited to be here. And anyway, so like I was like fangirling hard, and I spoke to, I can't remember her job title, but she gave me her card. I'm so excited to tell you all that they are bringing the perfumes back, and they're currently working on them right now. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what happens. So let me set the scene for you on Elsa Schiaparelli. And to do that, I'm going to start by reading the very first page of her autobiography, because this like tells you everything you need to know about her. I merely know Scap by hearsay. I have only seen her in a mirror. She is, for me, some kind of fifth dimension. She's unpredictable, but in reality, disarmingly simple. She's profoundly lazy, but works furiously and rapidly. Her laughter and tears collide. On a job of work, she is fun, soaring from despair to heavenly delight. She's generous and mean, for there are occasions when she would rather give away half her possessions than the handkerchief in her handbag. Intensely human, she both despises and loves human beings. Those whom she dislikes find themselves looked right through as if they were transparent. Sorrow and loss she readily accepts, but she does not know how to deal with happiness. Her life has been a means to something else, an everlasting question mark. Truly mystic, she believes in it, but she has not yet found out what it is. Her entire biography, she talks about herself in the third person. It's kind of wonderful. So that's what she said about herself. But her great rival, Coco Chanel, she was a big Schiaparelli hater. She called her both the Italian and the artist who makes clothes. But for Schiaparelli, who was born an aristocrat and like kind of, eschewed that to be a bohemian, she said of Chanel, ugh, that dreary little bourgeoisie. And she also called her the milliner because Chanel was originally a hat maker. Before I get into her biography, I also want to just share what people of the time period were saying about her. And the New Yorker said that a frock from Schiaparelli ranks like a modern canvas. And she has a gift, almost uncontrollable at times, for discovering beauty in lowly objects which have hitherto escaped attention by being universally useful. So that's kind of something that we're going to see throughout learning about her, was that she made these crazy, fantastical things, but she was also very practical. All of them worked really well and in innovative ways that hadn't been done yet. So she was born in Rome in September of 1890, and her mother was an Italian noble, but her dad was a scholar, and they had people in their family who were also very famous, very smart. One of her uncles discovered the tomb of Nefertari back when they were, having Egypt mania. And she grew up in an Italian palazzo, so this huge building, but she didn't have a lot of love and attention from her parents. So she considered herself this kind of lonely and plain child. I think she was very pretty, but she didn't think that of herself. And she said that she tried to grow flowers on her face to hide herself, which I thought was super interesting because I don't know if you've seen any of the old pictures, but there are some really crazy pictures of her where she's holding oversized pieces of anatomy as part of her couture and costuming, and you still kind of see Schiaparelli doing that today. So I think it's interesting how it all kind of went together. When she was 14 years old, I love this for her, she wrote a book of sensual poetry. And her parents were like, what? Absolutely not. You are going to a convent in Switzerland. So she leaves her Italian palazzo. She goes to this convent in Switzerland. She hates it, as we would expect. So what does she do about it? She goes on a hunger strike, 14 years old, until they let her come home. But then once she got back home, she was really worried that they were going to make her, marry some very rich Russian man. And so she's like, I got to piece out of here. I'm going to go to London. So instead of rich, aristocratic Russian man, she instead hooked up with a con man who also proclaimed to be a psychic. And this man I don't know if he was arrested or what happened. He got in trouble with the law because it was illegal in England to practice palmistry. So they moved to New York. She has a baby. He ditches her. So now she's a single mom in New York, and she's like, I don't know what to do. So she gets on a boat back to Europe, but she doesn't want to go home because she doesn't want to, have to be this noble woman. And so instead she goes to Paris. But while she's on the boat, she makes friends with the surrealists, which, that's got to be a great group to make friends with. So this was life-changing for her because they were really, these creative people with the bohemian lifestyle that she had craved. So when she started hanging out with them, first she tried her hand at being a poet. Then she was an antiques dealer. And then finally they were like, hey, you're really good at making these interesting clothing things. And her mentor was actually Paul Poiret, and he was the first fashion designer even before Chanel who had the haute couture line, but he also introduced perfume to his line. He was the first couturier who did that. And he was like, hey, you're good at what you're doing, and I think that you should start a business. So she actually designed, I'll pass this around so you can see it. Let's for TikTok people. These were sweaters that had a bow on it. And what's amazing about these is I feel like they would actually be, relevant today. They've got kind of that coquette style. And so she was wearing this. Hey, come on in. There's some seats over here. So she was wearing this sweater. Oh, you can just come around. It's fine. It's just TikTok. Just TikTok. Sorry. There's actually people watching. I love you guys. You're so great. So anyway, she wears this sweater to a business meeting, and she meets an editor from Vogue who is like, I need to have 40 of those. And so that is how Schiaparelli became a fashion designer. Now, another thing that's interesting about her is, unlike her rival Chanel, she didn't know how to sew. So Chanel grew up in an orphanage, like polar opposite upbringing. And she really took pride in the fact that she was a very good sewer. Scap did not know how to do that. Instead, she would make her designs by draping. And some of the collaborations that she did with Salvador Dali are really famous. So this first one here is the skeleton dress. And I'll pass that around for everybody to see. And then the next one, this one's two-sided. So this is the lobster dress, probably the most famous one. And it was worn by, oh gosh, I've already forgotten her name, Wallis Simpson, she was the one that the King of England abdicated for. And we don't totally love her because she was a Nazi sympathizer. And one thing, though, that I think is really funny is that she was a person that she used to be a client of Chanel, and Scap stole her, and Chanel was furious. And I just love every opportunity for Chanel to be angry. The last one I brought for you to see is the Tears dress. And you can Google any of these and they'll come right up. And when you look at these dresses, you're like, whoa, in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, they're actually wearing stuff like this. Yes, they were very into it. So that was another thing that was her versus Chanel was, you know how Chanel is. It's still like this. It's very classic. It's very chic. It's very buttoned up. This was crazy. This was all over the place, but people were into it because modern art and surrealism, they were really popular at that time. But haute couture, very expensive. Not everybody can afford a $10,000 dress. So what do you do to get clients who have different price points? You sell perfume. And so that is what brings us to her perfumes. And we are going to start. So you should have in front of you your little smell strips. The first one that we are going to smell is S, which is 1928 Schiaparelli. And the vintage of this bottle that I have, and I'll hold it up for you. Let me grab it really quick. Oh, you're good. You're fantastic. This is the bottle that I decanted it from. This version of S is from the 1950s, so it's not from the 20s, but yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a spritz. Then I'm going to pass it around, and then each of you give it a spritz, and then we'll kind of sniff and talk about it. But any questions so far?
Do we know who the perfumers were?
So she worked a lot with Jean Carles, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But mostly just with Rohr Bertrand, which is now Givaudan. So we don't necessarily know all the perfumers that she worked with, but Jean Carles was the one that did some of her more famous ones. Oh, is it not working?
Oh, I'm just new to this. How do I?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, so for anyone that is new to it, you want to spray the skinny side of the strip because that way the alcohol kind of evaporates faster. So you're actually smelling the perfume and you're not just, getting a whiff of ethanol. So yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm interested to hear your impressions on this. This one's pretty okay. A couple of them have definitely turned because, like I said, some of them are 90 years old, but they still have a lot of integrity to them. You can still kind of get what they were trying to accomplish. Okay, let me see if anybody is saying anything on here. Hello, everybody. And also, there's like water and food and stuff over there if you need. All right, while those are going around, any initial impressions so far that people want to share?
It's so much milder than like the picture you painted.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a really good observation. So some information that I didn't say that I think would also be interesting for this is that at this point, so again, 1928, she was known at this point for being this very chic Italian woman who dressed in black and white. And so the packaging for this perfume was originally black and white. Now, as you can see from the things up here, and as you might know from any information that you already know about Scap, she is very famous for the color Shocking Pink, which is this pink right here. And let me hold it up so everybody can see. So this is Shocking Pink. And this came around later, but I think that for her, this was still kind of, in the 1920s, this was still her finding her artist identity. So I also think that, so this first perfume, like I said, 1928, I think you're going to see a big jump when we get to the next ones.
I like that little hit of carnation.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel like I'm just surrounded by flowers. I'm walking to a flower shop.
Mm-hmm. I love carnation. It's got that like very peppery thing going on.
Something spicy there.
Yeah.
I have an old perfume of my grandma's that has carnation.
I mean, hey, this is well, maybe great grandma, but grandma, great grandma time period. And I hear that a lot, like, oh, this is a grandma perfume. I mean, that just means your grandma was awesome because she wore good stuff. Anybody else have any thoughts on S? Did it go around to everybody? We all have it? Perfect. Is it surprising to you, or are you like, yeah, this is a 1920s perfume?
Very powdery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you feel this compares to like Chanel No. 5, let's say? I used to be a teacher. I don't know if anybody can tell. It's not guest class.
It's quieter than Chanel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd have to smell vintage Chanel No. 5 that she probably have, and I haven't. But
I have some empty ones in here, but yeah.
Yeah, the modern stuff. It's a little like harsher.
Yeah.
But the aldehydes, this is what everyone was kind of using. This was like the new modern molecule, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That provides the powdery note.
Yep. Another note that gives powderiness is usually iris. So that's usually a big indicator. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to show you is Salut. Salut is very interesting because it came out in a trio of perfumes. It was Sucis, Salut, and Scap. And what was interesting about this was it was intended that Sucis was what you wear in the morning, Salut is what you wear midday, and then Scap is what you wear to bed. And so I thought that was very interesting to learn. The other thing that I would like to tell you about this one specifically, and let me see if I might not have kept, I don't think I have the quote with me. Salut is actually the perfume that Zelda Fitzgerald, F. Scott Fitzgerald, his wife, it's what she wore. And we have a letter from her, and I forgot to bring it with me. But for those of you who don't know the story, we hate F. Scott because he put her in a mental institution and stole her work, and we hate that. We hate that for her. And so when she was in the asylum, she did end up dying there in a fire, which again, we hate him, so we're not surprised. But while she was there, she did write him a letter asking for this perfume. And I'm really mad at myself for not bringing it with me, but you should definitely Google it because it's very sweet. And she's talking about how much she loves it. Before I give my impressions, if anybody else wants to jump in first.
Can you tell us, did the name Salut and the other one, do they mean something? Obviously, scalp is scalp.
Yeah, I don't know specifically what they meant, but Schiaparelli was like Chanel in that she was very superstitious and she really liked to have the letters of her name like involved some way in the naming of her perfumes. And you'll see that a little bit later with C, like she was using letters from her name. The first one, S, like Schiaparelli, it's that branding. She also thought that the letter S in her name gave it mystical qualities, kind of like how Chanel was with the C's and also with the number 5. I don't know what was in the water at that time, but I think like this one, I would say Salut is actually one of my favorite Schiaparellis because it is it's very sporty, which I wasn't expecting. Like this, I feel like you could put this on and go play in Wimbledon, you know? And I want to also show you, let me pick it up really quick. So this is decanted from an original bottle of Salut that came out in the 30s. And so yes, the sample that you are smelling came from this bottle. And it's a splash bottle. Most of them, I think actually all of them that I have are splash bottles. And so what that meant was, and I'm not going to do this because this is so old that the paint is coming off. But basically it's a splash bottle. So when you open it up, it's just kind of like, like you dab it on essentially. So I really like that we're using it from the decanted sample bottles and using the sprayers because I think that it really, like, you can smell a lot more of the characteristics than you can when you're just getting it from the splash bottle.
That's a great bottle, and it's huge, right?
Yeah. So something else to kind of want to talk about really quick too is that, so we know Scap because of her amazing bottles that she collaborated with Dali and Fini and Magritte and all these other artists. But her initial bottles were just kind of like in the Chanel number 5 like vein of, very very simple. A lot of that had to do with the war because they just didn't have the materials. They didn't have the people that could make those really intricate things. So the first couple of perfumes were really like a little bit more plain just because of those issues. All right. Any other comments before we move on to the next one?
There's so much going on here. It almost reminds me of some kind of, I don't want to say laughing gas, but there's
Tell me more about this laughing gas.
There's something like, this is going to sound really strange, but even the scent of like a flea collar as a child, I used to find that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like cats, there's something.
I can really smell the hyacinth.
Mm-hmm.
Hyacinth is like too strong.
Almost like it like some kind of. It makes me think of some kind of interesting gas or drug.
Interesting.
That would give you a good feeling, or that you're something you're supposed to inhale, but
it's like ether.
Yeah, it's ether.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
Okay.
It's really. I mean, I had it when I was 3, so I can't remember. That's how they took the chocolates out back then.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, it's very dangerous too, really. Orange grove or something.
Oh, I love that description. Just wait too, because we're gonna go down that path.
Yeah, to me, especially at the time, there's something like modern and weird about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it does make me think of maybe the surrealist because there's just something weird about it and that I enjoy.
It's so sad to think of Zelda in the bin spritzing herself.
Yeah. Or splashing herself.
Splashing
herself. Yeah.
I mean, she didn't set the fire. There's a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
But it would certainly be interesting to see how this develops on different people.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say.
Yeah. I can tell you that, like, if you spritz it, it might be okay directly from the splash bottle. No, it does not. It just smells like alcohol now. Okay, the next one that we're gonna do is Sleeping, which is from 1938, and I just want to call your attention to the gorgeous color of this. This is decanted from, I don't know if you can see it, this is the candle right here. That candle is original from 1938, and that little stopper there. So I don't have the base, but it came with this cone. So it was basically like, I don't know what those were called when they would like a snuffer, yeah, when they would like set out the candle. But yeah, so this was decanted from that, and I think this is another really surprising one. This was another perfume that she wanted people to wear to bed. And when you spray this, you're going to see that it is very dark and very thick. This one has definitely turned a little bit, but like I said, you can really get those characteristics now that we have it in the spray bottle.
Should we say if we wear perfume to bed? Because I wear perfume to bed.
Oh, I do. Yeah. Yeah. My husband gets so mad at me. He's like, why are you doing this? I really like this one. Ooh, that's a good idea. Wait, what do you powder your sheets with?
Say more, say more.
Oh, a lot of different things. But it started way back in the 80s. I would do white linen by Estee Lauder. And growing up in the South, it's so hot.
Yeah.
And so we would always have powder. But what's interesting, we didn't put powder on ourselves, really. It was on the sheet. So maybe we knew what was going to happen years.
Right.
But yeah, so I still do it. And I thought everyone did that. But,
well, now I'm going to start.
Yeah. And there are certain powders that are silk powders for your sheets. Like you can.
Are there any brands that you recommend that work well?
There's one Australian brand, but I forgot the name.
Okay.
And I think they went out of business. So now I've just started doing it.
And what was the purpose? Just to keep your bed fresh?
Well, yeah, fresh. It's also, you smell good.
Yeah.
You smell good in kind of a subtle way, you're going to pick it up.
Yeah. Unless you put the lotion on after you get out of your bath.
It's interesting too because like before people were into, you know, washing their clothes and everything, that was how you smelled good. It was all about how you clean your clothes, how you scent things. So, you know, all throughout history they did different things to their garments and to their sheets and all of those things, and that was how you keep clean. So.
And a lot of cultures would use, especially in the Middle East, would use incense, special incenses that's really, really sweet and resinous to scent your hair and your body and your clothes too, so you always smell great.
Yeah. All right, so Sleeping.
Oh.
What are we thinking on Sleeping? And I should also mention that the candlestick was something that came up in a lot of her designs. You'll see her and Salvador Dali especially, they were really good friends, and they used each other's different motifs all the time in their respective art.
It is really calming.
Mm-hmm. This one for me, like I smell a lot of pine. There's something a little bit sharp about it, but I agree. It's very like I feel like it sets the tone for like, yes, it is now time for me to sleep.
I want to say like clean and bright and crystalline.
Mm-hmm. Oh, crystalline is a good word.
Sort of like cucumbery.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sort of surprising for a nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little vegetable.
Little watery too. Any other impressions?
I also think what a great scent for the summer, when sometimes things can be cloying in the heat.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Mm-hmm. And let me know, by the way, if you guys get too hot. We've got the fan. We can turn it up. We can also open the door if like the spraying gets overwhelming.
It feels like all these fragrances have so many notes in it. Is that just because like what we see as notes now are written by the marketers and aren't really exactly what's in there?
Like it's a lot of different things. So there's that. Back then they used to do what was called like bases. So Rohr Bertrand, which is now Givaudan, they would have people, the perfumers, they would make a base that would have like 100 different materials to it. and then they would combine that with other accords. And so that is part of the reason why not only are you seeing a lot of notes, it's a lot of the reason why we can't necessarily recreate some of these old perfumes, because we don't always know what bases they were using, because they were just like, oh, it's this one base, I'll just like, throw it in. I mean, you can do analysis on it, but you're not going to necessarily get like a one-to-one from that.
Are they trying to do that with the reissues?
I don't know specifically. My impression, based on when I talk to them, is probably that they're going to redo Shocking, and then they might do see what happens and also do like other stuff. But they did mention that they had been working on it for a bit. Not that it was not that they were having trouble necessarily, but like they're really trying to get it right. Which actually brings us to Shocking. That is our next one. So for Shocking, this vintage is, I think this one is 1940s, and it's an eau de cologne, so it's not quite as strong. Here you go. So Shocking was the first Schiaparelli perfume that really was very popular. And this one was created by Jean Carles. And I was looking through her autobiography today, and she said that it did take them a year to get it right, because she was very particular on how she wanted it to look. Now, so that little bottle over there of Shocking, and there's also another one right here. So it looks like a dressmaker's doll, and it's got the measuring tape and the flowers. So Leonore Fini, who I think he was a sculptor, I'm not quite sure, made this bottle for her, and the flowers were designed by Salvador Dali. And the bottle itself is supposed to be basically the proportions of the actor Mae West, who is a very popular movie star at the time. And Schiaparelli later did her costumes for, I think it was for Moulin Rouge, actually, like Moulin Rouge in like the 40s or 50s. So that is where the design for that bottle came from. The two that I have out are both from the 30s. And you can tell that because of the glass dome and the lace around it. They stopped doing that after the 30s. I am very excited to hear what your impressions are of Shocking, because I'm going to be real. Shocking is not actually my favorite. I like it, but to me, especially knowing that it's by Jean Carles, it smells a lot like Taboo. And it's not, and I have Taboo up there, like we can pass that around too. But for a perfume with a name like Shocking, and knowing her personality and everything, and maybe that's just because, we had the Germaine Cellier event last time, who she was like so innovative and so cool and doing like really out there things. Like this to me is kind of tepid. But I don't want to I just totally poison the well. What do other people feel?
It does smell like a lot of sort of white floral perfumes.
Yeah.
I don't know if back then that would have been. But
yeah.
I think it smells to me like something that would be very easy for a lot of people to say, oh, that's my signature scent.
Right.
And the fact that the name is Shocking, but the scent isn't actually all that shocking, I mean,
makes it easier.
That's gold, right? In terms of selling it,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, just like sometimes the names seem so off, like Terra Mugler, Angel, which I loved. I had spent a while since I smelled it.
It smells so bad on me. I can't wear Angel.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It's not Angel. It's smelling at all. It's very, very odd. Yeah.
how accessible were her perfumes?
So
People buying and wearing them?
Yeah, so that's something that we'll talk about later too. So after her clothing went out of business, the perfume stayed on because that was actually what was profitable for her. She was also one of the first designers who had her showroom, which is still there in Place Vendôme. I don't know how to say it. First ready to wear. And we'll get into it more, but in your little pamphlet that I made, there is a photo, and it's in the upper corner here. You can see a kind of like a bird cage thing. And so what they did was that was in the window, and they would put the perfumes. You can kind of see them in the background on there, and they still have this bird cage, and they use it in their runways when they're like in the building.
So how widely was something like Shocking distributed, like in the U.S.? Did you have to go to New York to get it? Did you get it at the Bond or Fredericks or whatever?
So I'm not totally sure on what stores, but I do know that she was very popular in America, both her clothes and her perfumes. And so Taboo came out, and I don't know if do we all know the story about the prompt for Taboo? So the perfumer's brief for Taboo was, make me a perfume that a prostitute would wear. And Jean Carles, who's the same guy who did Shocking, he made Taboo. It was like 1931-ish, 32-ish. So like a couple, like maybe 5 years before Shocking. So for me, when I smell them, like I'm just like, oh yeah, that's like the same perfume. And Taboo was very popular. So I imagine like if they were similar, like that could also be another reason why they went this route.
See, I smell it. It reminds me of little things I've seen for like little girls, like a little girl perfume. I don't know.
Okay, so another really cool thing that I want to share with you is, so when Aubrey and I were on our Paris trip, we went to the Osmothèque. And the Osmothèque is basically a perfume archive. And they get the formulas for perfumes that like all throughout history. So like we smelled one that was ancient Egyptian. That was actually my favorite one. It smelled so good. And I think we smelled about 15 different perfumes. And what's interesting about the Osmothèque was, beforehand, I thought that what they were doing was they were just like keeping all the vintages like locked up. So like, for the future. That's not what they're doing. They're actually remaking the perfumes because they have, the formulas. They also store the ingredients. There's a lot of ingredients that you can no longer use in perfumery. They showed us this giant ball of ambergris, which it looked like the ball from Indiana Jones, that's like, like rolling down. Yeah, that's what it looked like. Just like in this little canister. But anyway, Shocking was one of them. And so this was a month ago, so like it's very faint at this point, but I'm going to open this up so you can smell what Shocking is supposed to smell like when it's brand new, because you're smelling old. This is brand new. So I'm going to rip it open so you guys I've been saving it just for this. Okay. Like I said, it was about a month ago, so it's a little bit faint at this point, but you can still get a whiff of it. But yeah, it was really cool at the Osmothèque because they had this whole presentation, and then we smelled all these different perfumes, and then they would give you this little package that you could put the scent strip in, for this reason, so that you could like smell it again later. So that was really neat.
What happens to perfume as it ages? Because they smell like
totally different. Yeah. A lot of things. There's evaporation. The alcohol just kind of like becomes all that you can smell. That's why you don't want to leave it in your bathroom. You want to keep it out of the sun. You want to keep it out of humidity. But yeah, basically as soon as you open a bottle of perfume, like it's exposed to the elements, and it just like starts that process, and it's a natural thing. But I think it's just so amazing that we have places like that now that can, show us what it would have been like. And that's kind of their goal too. They were telling us that it's not just about saving the vintages. It's also showing this is what the people who were first smelling it, this is what they experienced. And we want you to be able to experience that too.
in Paris?
It's in Versailles. It's not at the palace. It's like, I think it was like 20 minutes away. It is really, really difficult to get them on the phone and like get into it. You have to it took me months to get it, but you have to book. And they actually canceled ours, and I was like crying, and I was like, no, we're going to be there. We have to come. And then they were really nice about it. And they were like, oh yeah, do you want to have a private tour with our director? And I was like, yeah. It was supposed to be an hour, and she talked to us for almost 2 hours. Like, it was incredible. Aubrey, do you have anything you want to add? Cause like you were there too. I don't want to.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. It was awesome. I, like you, I misunderstood before I was there. I thought it was just like the old Jews. And
yeah.
It was really interesting. I asked her, do you ever get a perfume that's been so well preserved that you don't have to reconstitute it? No.
Yeah.
And they even reblend perfumes in their own archive after a number of years.
Yeah.
Notes will just kind of shift, or like they'll kind of lock together in a weird way, or like some notes will evaporate and some won't. And that's like in the archive where they have like the perfect temperatures, zero light. They've like topped every bottle with argon inert gas to like prevent any deterioration. And they're still like, you know, after a certain number of years, it's not going to be accurate in the sense that, I mean, the level of accuracy they're going for is the highest tier. So it's not to say that like if you have a bottle that's 20 years old, it's like no good anymore, but it's not 100%.
Yeah. Super fascinating. So, okay, for people that have smelled both the vintage and the new version of it, and when I say new, so they did reissue Shocking in 1997, but this is old Shocking, just made recently. So, how do you feel about them like back to back? And you don't have to answer. I'm just like,
Just know that I would buy it.
Same.
I think it's faded a bit too, though.
Yeah.
Or my nose is getting a little tired right now. But I think it's better than it's faded, but I think it's.
Yeah. All right. The next one that we are going to sniff before we take a very, very brief break to go back into the history. This is Snuff. Snuff was a perfume that it was the first and only perfume that she made that was specifically marketed to men. And it was based on the Magritte painting that's like Seun pipe. It's a pipe. That's what this is. Let me actually I didn't take the box out, but show TikTok. Here you go, TikTok. There's a pipe. I'm going to get banned now. I'm going to get banned for showing a pipe. Let me show you the box because the box is actually like almost more amazing than the bottle. So it came in basically a cigar box. So it came in a cigar box, and obviously it says Schiaparelli. This symbol was like one of their, I don't know if it's like a logo, but you see this symbol like on a lot of their packaging, but I have to show you the inside because it's just incredible. So this, let me show TikTok really quick. There you go. So I got this through an auction for an older gentleman who was donating his collection. I was like, thank you for donating to me. And yeah, I would pass it around, but it's like very old and fragile. So I'm not going to do that. Okay. So Snuff, like I said, was her first and only specifically men's cologne. Oh, I lost my thing. That's okay. I've smelled it before. Go ahead. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, and obviously the inspiration, tobacco, very, traditional masculine. So I'd love to hear your impressions on how this stacks up compared to perfumes that are specifically marketed to men now. Like, is it the same? Is it different? Back in this day, they weren't really doing that yet. Like, all perfume was, gender neutral. And it was only, starting in like the 40s and 50s that there was really a big shift towards, just for men or just for women.
Yeah, I was intrigued that it has a little lavender.
Yeah.
It's kind of like whiskey strength feel to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think of like a whiskey barrel or, something like that.
I think it smells like Elmer's glue.
Like what?
Elmer's glue.
Elmer's glue.
Which makes me wonder, like, what is that scented with? Right?
Yeah.
Because, like, everything's scented with something.
Yeah.
so interesting to smell it develop on it. I mean,
Yeah.
A lot of kind of like spicy florals,
Mhm.
on like carnation and geranium.
Yeah.
How does it get out of the vessel? Is there a spray on there?
No, it's another splash bottle. So little dabber. Yeah. Yeah, and the basically the decant here, that was all that was left of it, and so it was actually leaking a lot. So that's why I put it in there.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so those were the 1930s, and then comes the 40s, and war breaks out. And at first, Elsa Schiaparelli was trying to go back and forth through Europe. She was trying to go to Grasse to, see the materials and the factories and stuff where they're making her perfumes. But it became more and more difficult because when you're doing that, people are wondering if you're a spy. So that was something that she was accused of, and she decided to leave for New York, unlike Chanel, who was a collaborator. She made some very bad choices. So for, a couple of years, she's back in New York where she had lived previously, and she was still trying to run her business. But, during the war years, it just wasn't the same. And especially for the couture houses, your option was basically to close down or you sell to, the wives of Nazi soldiers that have taken over Paris. So when she does return to Paris, she had a couple more perfume launches. We had Le Roi Soleil, which was a collaboration with Salvador Dali. It is this beautiful jewel right here that I actually just got last week. There were only 2,000 of those made, and I just love her so much. I got it for an auction, and they didn't know what it was worth.
Like an eBay auction, or
I got it for $700. I could get $20,000 for that. And I was like, that's an investment.
Wow.
So yes, it's very hefty. It cannot be passed around because like the sun base. So for TikTok, because I'll show you later, but it kind of looks like this, but it's glass. And it's very heavy. There's a couple of chips on the glass. The other thing that's interesting about it was, so this was a commemoration of the war being done. It was like a celebration. A lot of brands did that. L'air de Temps that had the doves on it. That's another example. And so there's doves on it, and it's supposed to be about the Sun King, Le Roi Soleil, so Louis the 14th, like the sun never sets on empire, whatever the phrase is. So let's see. This did not have any perfume in it, but I have a version of it that Salvador Dali himself, he later, like in the 80s, he had his own perfume company, Salvador Dali Perfumes. This one came out after he died in 1997. So we will smell this. And they used a lot of the same notes. So it's probably not like an exact copy, but it's 1997. So this is definitely going to be more to our tastes than some of the other perfumes that we've been smelling today. The other thing that I thought was so funny, like this goes back to, being born an aristocrat. In her biography, when she was talking about the bottle, she says, "It's too expensive and too sophisticated for the general public, but it was a lovely object not destined to die," which, true. The other one was, I don't know if it's pronounced Zut or Zoot. I think it's Zoot. So I don't have original Zoot. It came out like 1948-ish. This was a reissue that came out also in 1997. So we will smell this version later. But when she returned to Paris, fashion had moved on. Christian Dior was the new it person. People really liked it was called the New Look, and they just weren't that into her surrealist fashions anymore. But her perfumes, and she also made costume jewelry, those continued to do well. She ended up shuttering the business as a whole, except for the perfumes, in 1954. the perfume part got bought out by another company, so they continued releasing stuff. And what we know Schiaparelli as now with like Daniel Roseberry, that was the perfume company. So they relaunched that license, or I don't know how it works, but in 2011 when they revamped the brand, it was from the perfume company that they did that. And so she closed the business in 1954, and again, not problematic like Chanel, wasn't trying to, throw Jewish people under the bus or anything like that. She just lived out her days at her mansion in Tunisia, and she wrote an autobiography and, did all of her fun things. So that is her life. Now, the next one we're going to smell is C, which came out in 1957. And I'm going to tell you, where did I put it? I'm going to tell you a little bit about that one too. Let me get that box for you. Here you go.
I know it is.
Okay, so C came in this box. So actually, one thing that's really special about this is this was an unopened bottle that I decanted for you. So you all got to experience that. Yeah, so it had this little tiny bottle right here, and then the larger one, and it came in a musical, and I'm not going to pass it around, but if you want to come look at it, the notes make little faces like with eyeliner and lipstick. It's really cool. So I definitely recommend actually, let me show it here. I definitely recommend that you take a closer look at it. But let me just read to you kind of what the inspiration here was, because it's really interesting. So the name C carries a multifaceted significance that intertwines with both music and the essence of Schiaparelli herself. Derived from the Valse de C, a waltz composed by Henry Saguet. I'm doing really bad, sorry. And he dedicated this waltz to Schiaparelli. And C resonates with musical notes, particularly the note B, and also serves as a play on the French word for yes and the English pronoun it. The name cleverly incorporates the first and last letters of Schiaparelli's surname, embodying a personal touch that reflects her bold and innovative spirit. So that is why C came in this format with all the musical packaging along with it.
The small bottle is the same scent.
It's the same scent. I'm not sure if that was supposed to be like a purse or a travel thing or what was going on there, but 1957.
It's kind of dark academia.
Yeah, totally.
The myrrh is really prevalent to me.
The myrrh.
The myrrh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The whole insecty thing I like.
Yeah, it's very, very spicy, kind of smoky a little bit.
Like it's branding very nicely.
Yeah.
Piano.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I have one of the ads framed up there. And so the fancier bottle, that's the one I have is the not as fancy one. It kind of looked like a musical instrument too, which I think is really cool. And you can better see the face from the musical notes.
The art on that one looks like Andy Warhol when he was doing the illustrations.
Which one?
The one with the one with the sun.
Oh, the Roy Soleil.
Have you ever seen he just did commercial illustrations for shops and stuff in New York and not signed, but that was very much what his style was.
Yeah. Yeah, all of their old ads kind of I don't know what that art style is called, but they all kind of looked like that. More so the Roy Soleil than the C.
Are they going to bring this back?
They didn't tell me which ones they were bringing back. They just said that they were relaunching it.
This is more like a niche perfume.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a fun unison perfume.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I think my favorites are Salut, Sleeping, and that one. And and then next we're going to do Zoot. So this is the 1997 reissue, and I wrote down what was in the original versus now so we can kind of compare it. you're going to notice a huge difference now that we're smelling stuff from the 90s. There's a huge difference. So I'm just going to pass the bottle around. So the ones that you all have in front of you are the notes from the 1997 version. The 1948 version is Calabrian bergamot and French black currant, French calendula, Alpine cyclamen, Dutch linden blossom, lang lang, grass jasmine, Alpine lily of the valley, grass rose, and then Venezuelan tonka bean, Omani frankincense, Russian leather, Mexican vanilla, ambergris, Mysore sandalwood, Florentine orris, and Tibetan musk. So that's the original. And in your little booklet there under Zoot, it has the 1998 version that you're smelling. So obviously I don't have the original version for us to compare it to, but you've just smelled a bunch of originals that other perfumes, obviously. What do you notice the differences between, the 90s versus the other stuff? That other perfumes, obviously. What do you notice the differences between, the 90s versus the other stuff?
More limey, more vanilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that is the only one of her perfumes that doesn't start with an S, but it still has kind of an S quality because it's a Z, so Zoot. Like, I really like the name of that one because it meant like damn or like hot damn, like kind of thing. So like again, it underscores the playfulness of it. So kind of like the discussion that we were having before that, the perfume is called shocking, but it's not necessarily shocking. There's something to be said about having the marketing surrounding it be kind of playful, kind of dangerous, and then having like this comforting scent because then you can get people to get on board with it.
This is always going to be that just always it feels timeless and sort of a sexy evening scent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it. All right, friends, the last one that we are going to smell tonight. This is Roi Soleil as interpreted by Salvador Dali Perfumes in 1997. I really like this one. Like I would still wear this one today. And I'll read to you the original notes so that you can kind of see the differences. So in your pamphlet, you have the 1997 notes. The original Roi Soleil had bergamot, pineapple, lemon, palisander rosewood, rose, jasmine, apricot, cloves, and cinnamon. Base notes, tonka bean, patchouli, sandalwood, musk, vetiver, and vanilla. So, a lot of the same stuff. To me, this one's very fruity and gourmand. Like I feel like you would see this like on a shelf next to perfumes that we currently have.
Oh, love that pineapple. I know. How summer, how tropical.
Yeah.
Like tropical Fantasia.
Yeah, and like again, if you think about it, like this perfume specifically came out because it's commemorating the end of the war. Like people are celebrating, people are so excited, especially in France. So when we were in France a few weeks ago, it was right during D-Day celebrations. That is still a big deal over there. Like we forget about that in the United States because it didn't happen on our soil. So it was very different for the people who, first of all, like Paris was occupied and the people there experienced great hardship. Their buildings were blown up. A lot of people died. So I think it's very interesting to see how this scent is from that time period and trying to basically, I don't know the word that I'm looking for, but helping people to move on from the horror show that they had just seen.
And then pineapples are very much associated with fertility and prosperity.
Yeah.
And they were expensive.
Yeah.
It's happy.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot.
There's something about like the pineapple and the cinnamon together.
Mm-hmm.
It is like rays of sun or something like it's.
I like the motion that you're doing because it looks like the sun. Like it looks like the spikes. Yeah. Isn't scent fun? Like art.
Now, is this is not still available?
No, you can still get bottles of it. There's one on eBay that this person keeps trying to sell for €850. And I'm like, nobody is paying €850 for that. It's not original. Like, no. There's much cheaper ones that you can still get.
I wonder if there's anything currently being made right now anywhere that's even reminiscent of this as far as like the pineapple melon.
To think about it.
I haven't even seen that in the scent before.
Not sent by similar, but have you seen the Cirque du Soleil?
I was just.
I have.
The branding
I haven't.
feels some of these.
Yeah, because I have the Cirque du Soleil, and it's the bottle.
Is it good?
The packaging is beautiful. It comes in like almost like this reveal cardboard thing. That's all. It's very Cirque du Soleil, but it's almost got a lactonic quality to it that surprised me. I haven't really worn it more than once, but it's gorgeous to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the Instagram ads, and I'm like, but it's beautiful.
I know.
It's really pretty.
It is beautiful. It's a beautiful bottle. I kept it in this little cardboard because it was so pretty.
Yeah, well, that was Vintage Smells Club for this month. I like doing these, so I'm hoping I'll probably do the next one in October. I was going to take August to kind of chill. And then September, we're doing a scent swap. So if you want to declutter your perfume collection and trade with other people, September 21st here at the Perfumery. Over on that table right there is the perfumes that people have brought that can be traded right now. I think they're all just like free. They're just up for grabs. Yeah.
Take them, even if you didn't bring anything to trade.
Yeah, take what you want. I just got my little cabinet up there, a little free perfume library. There's stuff that's left over from the last event. Anything that's not claimed tonight, I'll put in there for the September swap. And anytime that you want to, get rid of stuff, feel free to bring it so that other people can experience the perfume.
And we register on your website.
Yeah. The reason why we do that, because even though this is medium-sized perfume shop, still only a certain amount of people can come in. And not everybody that originally registered came. I'm kind of glad that they didn't show because this was kind of the limit.
And today is Bastille Day.
Bastille Day. I forgot to mention that there's
all sorts of cool restaurants
that
are French, like Le Pichet downtown, I'm sure, that will be offering specials. And
yes. I chose today to do Schiaparelli specifically for that reason, and then I promptly forgot to mention it. The other thing I was thinking about, and you guys can say no, Jen, you're crazy. So we were talking about making perfume friends. My favorite, so fall is my whole personality. I'm a fall girl. It's my whole thing. There is a farm here in Seattle or outside of Seattle called Stalker, and they have a sunflower festival, and it's wonderful. And so if anybody wants to go to the sunflower festival this year, I really want to go.
Where is it?
Stalker Farm. I think it's Sammamish. It's one of those places. Sorry, people that are from. You need a car. I don't know. There's probably some sort of transportation out there. I don't know if it would be a bus or what, but that's definitely something I want to do. So if it's something that you're interested in, let me know.
Is it September?
Yes. They don't know until a couple weeks beforehand because it depends on the crop. Yeah. Last year it was September 15th-ish, I want to say. It was amazing. They do a really good job. We took so many pictures. It was very Instagram friendly. So yeah. But yeah, so there's food and drinks over there. Help yourself. Feel free to talk and smell stuff if you want. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming tonight. It was really fun. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right, let me turn this off. Thank you, TikTok, for watching. I don't know how to turn this off. This happened last time I did this too. There we go. Okay.